She was engaged to the man she trusted with her heart, her money, and her future. He promised her stability. He promised her marriage. He promised her a new beginning. Then he sent her to Dallas for their wedding. But when she walked into the venue, people didn't call her the bride. They called her the hairstylist. Whispers followed her. Strangers stared. And the man she loved was standing at the altar, pretending he didn't know her. Within minutes, her entire life collapsed. Her savings vanished. Her dignity was stripped away. And the truth she was about to uncover was far worse than betrayal. Because this wedding was never meant for her. Subscribe and stay with this channel to uncover what happened next, and how the truth finally came out. Alice Branch wasn't struggling in the way people usually imagine struggle. At 47 years old, she paid her bills on time. She owned her own hair salon in East Atlanta. She had loyal clients who trusted her with their most important moments: weddings, graduations, job interviews, fresh starts. On the surface, Alice looked like a woman who had figured life out. But success doesn't erase loneliness. There's a quiet kind of isolation that creeps in when you realize most people your age have already chosen their forever, and you're still eating dinner alone. Alice felt it every night when she locked up her salon, turned off the lights, and drove home to an apartment where no one was waiting for her. Her phone stayed silent most weekends. No, how was your day? No, did you eat? No one noticed when she was exhausted. Alice's story didn't begin with success. It began with survival. When she was younger, her family fell apart financially. Her father lost his job at the manufacturing plant he'd worked at for over a decade. Bills piled up faster than he could manage. Eviction notices appeared on their door. The phone rang constantly with collectors demanding money they didn't have. Then one morning, Alice woke up and her mother was gone. No goodbye, no explanation. Just an empty closet and a note on the kitchen table saying she couldn't do it anymore. Her father never talked about it. Instead, he took 2 jobs. One in the early mornings at a gas station. Another at night stocking shelves at a grocery store. He worked himself into exhaustion just to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads. He came home smelling like motor oil and cleaning chemicals, too tired to do anything but collapse on the couch. But he never stopped showing up for Alice. He attended every school meeting. He asked about her homework. He pushed her to dream bigger than the life they were stuck in. Alice listened. She studied hard. She stayed out of trouble. She graduated high school with honors. When she received her college acceptance letter, her father cried. He told her she was going to do things he never had the chance to do. Alice believed him. She majored in journalism because she wanted to tell stories that mattered. She wanted to expose corruption, uncover truth, and give a voice to people who didn't have one. She spent her college years writing for the school paper, building a portfolio she believed would open doors. But after graduation, reality hit hard. She sent out dozens of applications, then dozens more. Most never responded. Those that did said the same thing. Not enough experience. Not the right fit. We'll keep your resume on file. The bills didn't care about her dreams. She needed money, fast. So Alice took a job as a waitress at a chain restaurant off the highway. It was exhausting, humiliating in ways she hadn't expected. Customers snapped their fingers at her, complained about things she couldn't control, left no tips. She came home every night smelling like grease and disappointment. For years of college, and she was refilling drinks. It felt like failure. Then one small moment changed everything. A coworker asked if Alice could style her hair for a wedding. Alice had always been good with hair. Even as a kid, she braided classmates' hair during recess. She agreed, charged $50, and finished the job. The coworker loved it. She told others. Soon Alice was doing hair on weekends and making more money in 2 days than she did waiting tables all week. It wasn't the dream she planned, but it was something she could build. She enrolled in cosmetology school at night while still working during the day. She barely slept. But she passed her licensing exam on the first try. She rented a small booth in a salon. She handed out business cards everywhere. She worked holidays and weekends. Slowly, her schedule filled. 2 years later, Alice leased her own small space. The building was old. The floors creaked. The mirrors were scratched. But it was hers. Her father came to the opening. His body was worn down from decades of labor. His back was damaged. His knees ached. But he stood there with tears in his eyes and told her he was proud. Alice became his caretaker as his health declined, driving him to appointments, managing prescriptions, making sure he ate. She gave everything to the people she loved. And that was the problem. Because when it came to love, Alice kept choosing men who saw her kindness as something to take advantage of. Men who borrowed money and disappeared. Men who moved in and contributed nothing. Men who left her paying off debts they created. By her mid-40s, Alice stopped actively looking for love. She told herself she was fine. But hope never fully disappears. It just waits quietly for the wrong person to notice it. And when Alice met Reynolds Scott, she had no idea how vulnerable that quiet hope would make her. It was a Saturday afternoon in late September when Alice first noticed him. She was finishing up with a client, gently wrapping the woman's freshly styled hair in a silk scarf, when the salon door chimed. Alice glanced up and saw a man and a woman walk in together, close, comfortable, moving like two people who genuinely enjoyed being in each other's space. The man held the door open. His hand rested lightly at the small of the woman's back. Not possessive, not forced, just present. The woman introduced herself as Samantha Bridget and said she had an appointment for a wash and style. Alice greeted her and led her to the chair. The man didn't leave. Most partners dropped their girlfriends off and disappeared until the appointment was done. This one pulled up a chair near the styling station and sat down, fully engaged. He wasn't scrolling on his phone. He wasn't bored or impatient. He watched Samantha like there was nowhere else he needed to be. As Alice worked, the man made easy conversation. He complimented the salon, said it felt warm and welcoming. He asked how long Alice had been in business and nodded with genuine respect when she told him 3 years. That takes real strength, he said. Most people don't understand how hard it is to build something from nothing. The comment stuck with her. People rarely notice the effort. They saw the end result, not the years of sacrifice. This man saw it immediately. Alice caught herself watching them in the mirror. The way he touched Samantha's shoulder when he leaned in. The way he listened when she spoke. It wasn't flashy or performative. It was attentiveness. Something Alice hadn't experienced in a long time. When the appointment was over, they paid and left together. The man held the door open again, and Alice watched them walk out, get into their car, and drive away. She didn't think much of it. Just another client. Just another couple. 2 weeks later, she saw him again. It was almost 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night when Alice ran into him at the Kroger near her apartment. The store was quiet, nearly empty. She was exhausted from a long day at the salon and a late visit to her father's house. She turned a corner near the produce section and nearly collided with someone. It was him. He was holding an apple up to the light, examining it thoughtfully. When he looked up and saw her, his face lit up with immediate recognition. "Hey," he said, smiling. "You're the stylist from the salon in East Atlanta, right?" Alice was surprised he remembered her, especially since he hadn't even been the client. They started talking, easily, comfortably, like two people picking up a conversation they'd left unfinished. He remembered the name of her salon. He remembered details from their brief conversation weeks earlier. That warmth spread through Alice's chest again. After a few minutes, she asked the obvious question. "How's your girlfriend doing?" The shift in his expression was subtle, but unmistakable. His smile faded. He set the apple back on the display and looked at her directly. "We broke up," he said quietly. "I found out she was cheating." There was no anger in his voice. No bitterness. Just disappointment. Alice felt her stomach drop. They'd seemed so happy together. "I'm really sorry," she said, and she meant it. They stood in the produce aisle talking for nearly 20 minutes. He asked about her salon, her work, her father. He listened, really listened, when she talked. He told her he worked as a consultant, traveling for projects. The details were vague, but not suspicious. Plenty of people had jobs like that. Before they parted ways, he asked for her number. "I'd like to stay in touch," he said. "It's nice talking to someone who understands what it's like to work hard for what you have." Alice hesitated for only a moment before giving it to him. She told herself it was just friendly. But as she loaded groceries into her car, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Possibility. His name was Reynolds Scott. At least, that's what he told her. He texted her the next morning. "Good morning. Hope you have a great day." It was simple, thoughtful. Over the next week, the messages became consistent. He remembered details. He checked in about her father. He asked how her appointments went. Nothing overwhelming. Nothing rushed. Just steady. Their first official date happened the following Tuesday at a small Italian restaurant on the east side of Atlanta. Reynolds asked questions that went deeper than surface-level small talk. Why journalism? Why hairstyling? What was it like growing up without her mother? Alice found herself opening up in ways she rarely did. Reynolds didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix anything. When she finished, he reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. "You didn't give up," he said. "That says everything about you." Over the next 4 months, Reynolds became part of Alice's life. He helped clean the salon on weekends. He ran errands with her. He visited her father and fixed things around the house. Her father remained cautious, warning her quietly to be careful. But Reynolds was patient, calm, consistent. There were small things that didn't quite add up. He never wanted photos together. He paid for everything in cash. He kept his work and family details vague. But none of it felt dangerous on its own. They felt like quirks. And Alice, who had waited so long to feel chosen, didn't realize she was already being studied, already being prepared. Because Reynolds wasn't just building trust. He was building leverage. By the 5th month, Reynolds Scott no longer felt like a visitor in Alice Branch's life. He felt permanent. He had a key to her apartment. He knew her daily schedule. He knew which nights her father needed help and which mornings she opened the salon early. Reynolds showed up consistently, and that consistency mattered more to Alice than grand gestures ever had. He brought coffee when she worked late. He folded towels at the salon without being asked. He listened when she talked about exhaustion and uncertainty. And slowly, without Alice noticing, Reynolds positioned himself as the one person she leaned on most. That's when the conversations began to shift. Not abruptly, not aggressively, carefully. One night, as they sat on her couch watching television, Reynolds sighed and muted the screen. "Can I be honest with you?" he asked. Alice nodded. He told her he was tired. Tired of hotels. Tired of moving from contract to contract. Tired of never having a place that felt like home. He said he wanted stability. A partner. A future. Alice felt her heart race. She'd never had a man talk about settling down with her like that. Not seriously. A week later, Reynolds suggested they open a joint savings account. "Just for the future," he said lightly. "Nothing serious yet. It's just smart planning." Alice hesitated. She'd been burned before. But Reynolds wasn't asking for control, or so it seemed. He suggested she keep the account under her name. "I trust you," he said. "More than anyone." That sentence stayed with her. She opened the account. Reynolds began talking about business ideas shortly after. He said he wanted to start a consulting firm of his own, something more stable than contract work. He claimed he had connections. Clients lined up. But he needed upfront capital. "Not a lot," he said. "Just enough to launch." Alice didn't agree right away. But Reynolds never pushed. Instead, he waited until the right moment. That moment came when her father was hospitalized after a minor stroke. Alice barely slept that week. She split her time between the salon and the hospital, emotionally drained and overwhelmed. Reynolds stayed by her side the entire time. He brought meals. He handled calls. He reassured her father that Alice was taken care of. One night in the hospital parking lot, Reynolds held Alice while she cried. "I want to protect you," he said quietly. "You've carried too much alone." A month later, Reynolds proposed. It wasn't flashy. No crowd. No ring hidden in dessert. Just the two of them standing in the salon after closing hours, surrounded by mirrors that reflected a future Alice had almost stopped believing in. Reynolds got down on one knee and told her he wanted to spend the rest of his life proving she'd chosen the right man. Alice said yes without hesitation. She told her friends. She told her clients. She told her father. For the first time in years, she felt chosen. That's when the money requests escalated. Reynolds explained that starting the business required more than expected. Licensing fees, office space, equipment. He showed her documents, contracts, emails. Everything looked legitimate. Alice transferred money from her savings. Then more. Reynolds promised to repay every dollar once the business launched. "I'd never hurt you," he said. "You're my wife. They planned a small wedding in Dallas, Texas, Reynolds' idea. He said his extended family would be able to attend there. Alice didn't question it. She trusted him. As the wedding approached, Reynolds grew distant. He claimed stress, work pressure, travel demands. He stopped staying over as often, stopped answering calls immediately. But whenever Alice expressed concern, Reynolds reassured her. "This is just temporary," he said. "After the wedding, everything settles." 2 weeks before the ceremony, Reynolds told Alice something unexpected. His cousin, Samantha Bridget, would be one of the bridesmaids. Alice froze. The name felt familiar. Then she realized. Samantha Bridget, the woman from the salon. The woman Reynolds claimed had cheated on him. Reynolds brushed it off quickly. "Family is complicated," he said. "We don't talk much anymore." Alice wanted to ask more questions, but she didn't, because the deposits were paid. The dress was ordered. The invitations were sent. And Alice had already given Reynolds more than her money. She had given him her future. What she didn't know was that Reynolds had already finalized his exit. And the wedding in Dallas wasn't the beginning of their life together. It was the end of hers. Dallas, Texas was warm and bright the weekend of the wedding. Alice arrived 2 days early, her suitcase heavy with dresses, shoes, and a future she believed was finally beginning. The venue was a modest but elegant event hall just outside the city. Cream-colored walls, tall windows, soft lighting. It wasn't extravagant, but it felt meaningful. Alice checked into the hotel alone. Reynolds had said he needed to handle last-minute arrangements with family. She trusted him. The night before the wedding, Alice barely slept. She replayed everything in her mind. The proposal, the planning, the promises. She imagined waking up beside Reynolds as his wife. Starting over. Starting fresh. The next morning, Alice arrived early to the venue. She was nervous, excited, and ready. Then the coordinator approached her with a clipboard and a confused expression. "Are you the hairstylist?" she asked. Alice smiled politely. "No, I'm the bride." The woman blinked. "Oh, I'm sorry. We were told the hairstylist would arrive early to prep the bridal party." Alice laughed awkwardly, assuming it was a misunderstanding. Minutes later, another woman approached her. "You're here to do the bridesmaid's hair, right?" she asked. Alice's smile faded. That's when Samantha Bridget walked into the room, wearing a satin robe, surrounded by bridesmaids, glowing with excitement. Samantha looked at Alice and froze. Their eyes locked. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Samantha said quietly, "What are you doing here?" Alice felt the room tilt. "I'm here for my wedding," Alice said, her voice barely steady. Samantha's expression shifted, confusion, then realization. "Oh my God," she whispered. That's when the truth surfaced. Reynolds Scott wasn't marrying Alice. He was marrying Samantha. Alice had been hired, without knowing it, to do hair for the bridal party at her own fiancé's wedding. Alice searched the room for Reynolds. She found him near the altar, adjusting his tie. She walked toward him, heart pounding, each step heavier than the last. "Reynolds," she said. He turned. His face drained of color. For a brief second, Alice saw panic. Then, calculation. "I'm sorry," he said calmly. "Do I know you?" The words cut deeper than any scream could have. Alice stared at him, stunned. "We're engaged," she whispered. "You proposed to me." Reynolds glanced around, lowering his voice. "You're mistaken," he said. "I think you're confused." That's when Samantha stepped forward. "You told me you broke up with her," Samantha said to Reynolds. "You said she was a client." Reynolds didn't respond. The room filled with whispers. Alice's legs gave out. She grabbed a chair to steady herself. The coordinator intervened, trying to understand what was happening. Security was called. Alice was escorted out of the venue. Outside, in the Texas heat, Alice collapsed on the sidewalk. Her phone buzzed. A notification from her bank. The joint account was empty. Every dollar she had transferred to Reynolds was gone. The wedding went on without her. Reynolds Scott married Samantha Bridget that afternoon. And Alice Branch returned home with nothing but debt, humiliation, and a truth she never saw coming. But what Reynolds didn't know was that Alice wasn't finished. Because this wedding wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of his consequences. Alice Branch didn't lose her strength that day in Dallas. She lost her illusion. The illusion that kindness is always safe. The illusion that love can't be weaponized. The illusion that trust will always be honored. She returned home humiliated, financially drained, and emotionally shattered, but not broken. Because Alice rebuilt before, and she would rebuild again. What Reynolds Scott never understood was that some people don't disappear when you take everything from them. They remember. They document. They fight back. And while Alice was left to piece her life together, the truth about Reynolds didn't stay buried forever. Lies leave patterns. Fraud leaves trails. And secrets always surface. If this story made you angry, if it made your heart race, if it reminded you why trusting the wrong person can change everything, then this channel is for you. Here, we tell the stories that don't get told, the betrayals that were meant to stay hidden, and the victims who refuse to stay silent. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Like this video to help this story reach more people. Comment below, do you think Reynolds ever truly loved anyone, or was this always the plan? And remember, sometimes the most dangerous people don't look like villains. They look like love.